Hello. We have two stories today of justice-inducing tingles from ProRevenge and pettyrevenge. Our first story follows a senior, nay, wizened lawyer who knows the perfect way to deal with the junior manager when he catches them plagiarizing his work. As always, your support helps fight the Reddit bot menace. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We start with story 1. A lawyer's pro-revenge on his boss. This opinion is absolute trash, my boss told me. He'd been a lawyer for 3 years, and the firm assigned me to him for training to show me, junior counsel, how to be a litigator. I dislike my boss for a number of reasons. He knew no law, and he expressed himself badly in writing. For a litigator, that's like strike 1 and 2 right there, and strike 3 was this. He had no balls. He was actually scared of going to court. I noticed this when he took me to assignment court one day, and when it was his turn to speak, his hands were shaking. He was scared in bloody assignment court, where all you do is set a trial date. "What's wrong with what I wrote?" I said. "Not what I asked for," he said, turning away. But when I checked the memo he'd emailed me 2 weeks earlier, I saw that the opinion I wrote was exactly what he asked for. I knew what was up. He was going to delete my dockets for writing the memo and then claim he did it himself, thus leaving quite a bit short of my docketing quota for the month. I knew that he would do this to me because he'd done this before. I knew that my memo would wind up on a partner's desk without my name on it. I knew that for a fact because the firm I worked at was one of the first in the city to have a really good internal network. We were using email for internal communications before the internet became a thing, so the firm was way ahead in terms of technology, but not in terms of security. Not long after I joined the firm, I learned how to surf away on the firm's hard drive and find interesting things, like evidence that my boss was plagiarizing my work. My boss was the very model of the young downtown lawyer. His perfect shoes always gleamed. He wore bespoke suits because he came from money. Everyone just took it for granted that he was on the partner track. I, on the other hand, was well on my way to nowhere special, so maybe he thought it was okay to mess with me. If so, that was a big mistake on his part. I didn't like having my billable hours messed with. I seriously resented it because I was already being targeted as one of the juniors who doesn't docket as much as he should. And I was getting pushback from the partner who headed our team. I told the partner what was going on, but he didn't care. It was like being back in middle school and showing up in the office with bruises on my face, and the principal saying, "Boys will be boys," and sending me on my way. "You'll just have to work harder or smarter," the partner said when I reported the latest BS thing my boss did to me. I couldn't work harder. I was doing the usual 6 days a week lawyers downtown are forced to do. But I could work smarter, and that night I thought up a plan. Christmas was coming, and I thought I'd give my boss a little present. It landed on his desk on December 24th in the form of a memo purporting to be from the partner that my boss reported to. The partner was an old guy and not really on board with emails and computers, so he did everything old school on paper. So when my boss came in on December 24th and saw a memo on his desk from the partner with a legal research assignment, that wasn't unusual. The memo was drafted in the usual form that the partner used, because of course I had taken great pains to make sure that it looked authentic. My boss walked over to the little cubicles where the juniors worked and gave me the same memo, except his secretary had retyped it, so now the assignment was from him to me instead of from the partner to my boss. The assignment was difficult, requiring me to do a deep dive into admiralty law, its relationship to the common law, combined with a constitutional division of powers question. "But this is a huge assignment," I whined, "and I'm going to be away. Can't you get someone else to do it? Is it really urgent?" The memo I'd forged to my boss stressed how totally urgent the situation was. But there was no way my boss could double-check with the partner, because the partner left the day before on vacation. That's why I'd waited until December 24th. "No can do," my boss said. "This is a big deal. Just let HR know. Maybe they'll give you time and a half or something." He turned his back and walked away, thinking he had ruined my holidays. But he was mistaken. You see, I'd written a paper for a third-year course that was basically the same thing as the research assignment in the memo. So the only work I had to do was to find the old floppy disk with the draft on it, fiddle with it a bit, and voila! I would have a very detailed and very long memo on an obscure point of admiralty law, with references starting back to Lord Coke's day. So I put the memo together and took my holidays as planned. I wasn't traveling anywhere because I had no money, but I saw my family and stayed in town. I made a point of dropping by the office during the holidays, sending an email or two, establishing that I was around, and docketing all my time for the huge amount of research I was allegedly doing. So the holidays end, and I'm sitting in my crummy little cubicle with a huge stack of work to do, and my boss comes up to me in one of his bespoke suits with a gold tie pin and cufflinks to match. He was wearing a gold watch, too. He was dressed up, even for him, trying to make an impression of some kind. "Where's that memo? You were supposed to have it on my desk when I got back. I'm going into a meeting at noon." "Just finished it this morning," I said, handing him the lengthy memo that was still warm from the printer. My boss took the memo in his hands and felt its heft, and he smiled. Then he turned and walked away without a word. Just before lunch, I heard a commotion down the hall. It was a pretty loud commotion, as such things go. A loud, "Mother smucker!" And then a door was flung open. It was the partner, and he was screaming for my boss to get his behind into his office now, right now, as in immediately. I had the pleasure of watching my boss scramble down the hall. "Just what the fracking funk is this?" the partner said, standing in the doorway to his office and holding my handiwork at arm's length with his thumb and index finger, as if he were afraid that handling it would soil him. My boss mumbled something, and then the partner ushered him inside. I heard more shouting, then the sound of muffled excuses, and then more shouting from the partner. Then the door flung open again. "Called in the 90s. Get your behind in here too," the partner said, and I got my tail in there pronto. "Did you write this nonsense memo?" the partner said. I took it from him and looked it over. "I wrote it. The cover page has been changed to remove my name, but other than that, it's mine. I spent all Christmas on it. Is there something wrong with it?" The partner exploded. "Is there something wrong with it? Something wrong? I'll tell you what's wrong with it. It's fracking useless. Totally useless." I explained that I'd followed my boss's instructions to the letter and that I'd docketed more than 100 hours on it. At this, the partner really went nuts and told me to go back to my desk and fetch him the memo from my boss. I brought it to him, and when he read it, his face went red. He told me I could leave, and I hauled out of there. From my little cubicle, I wasn't close enough to hear the full chewing out my boss got, but I heard the details through the grapevine over the next few days. All about how the partners were seriously furious that my boss had wasted over 100 hours of a junior's time on a useless task that was obviously a prank. Asking how had my boss not realized that he was being pranked? Was he an idiot? I wasn't blamed at all, of course. I had been working under my boss's close supervision. My boss didn't get fired, but there were some good outcomes for me. For one thing, the partner told me to send him a copy of any memos I wrote for my boss, and that ended him taking credit for my work. My boss also stopped deleting my dockets for my research. Plus, I got a belated Christmas bonus for having to give up on my alleged vacation to write the stupid memo. I really hated working in that place, but whenever times were tough, I'd think back to the case of the forged memo, and that always brought a smile to my face. In the comments, plan number 4679 asked, "How did they not figure out that it was you who forged the memo? Why wouldn't the partners want to find the person responsible for the prank that cost them over 100 billable hours?" OP replied, "I'm sure they did, but there was no way for them to find out. Whatever list of suspects they had, I would have been at the bottom of it." A little soft inside asked, "I had to reread your opening paragraph 4 times. I was convinced you had made some kind of typo or mixed up your pronouns. Your boss had only 3 years of experience? Your firm assigned you to what sounds like possibly the worst lawyer ever as a supervisor and mentor to show you how to be a litigator? This loser of a boss with only 3 years of experience who knew no law, expressed himself badly in writing, and had no balls, was on partnership track? This makes no sense at all. He came from money. Ding, ding, ding. Aha, now it makes sense." OP replied, "You got that right. Listen to this. When the firm was doing a seminar for a client, my boss was tasked with doing a presentation. So, of course, he dumped it on me to write. So I wrote the whole thing start to finish, explaining some difficult legal stuff in layman's language. I spent a ton of time on it. The client loved it, and my boss got all kinds of kudos. I didn't even get a mention. And of course, my dockets were short for the month, so I got chewed out by the partner. By the end of my time at the firm, I'm pretty sure my boss hated me. The forged memo was not the only stunt I pulled, not the only time I embarrassed him, and I think maybe he was starting to suspect. When the firm blew up some years ago, he was still there, because of course he made partner. But unlike some of the more senior guys, he didn't manage to score a judgeship, and he didn't have the balls to strike out on his own. Instead, he hung up a mediator's shingle. Mind you, he probably doesn't need the money, which kind of peeves me off. I didn't come from money. I would have loved to have come from money. Everything's easy if you come from money. The things you could do before technology. I bet it would be impossible to pull off something like this in today's age of personal logins and IDs. Oh, the good old days when you could put your idiot boss in his place. Our second story comes from Petty Revenge, where one Karen makes the mistake of attacking the VIP of any workplace, the office baker and most beloved holder of all things delicious and yummy. In story 2, office revenge on a Karen who didn't think my girlfriend's baking was up to par. My girlfriend is currently being her adorable self and baking in the kitchen. She's doing her thing with the hangover on in the background and her favorite giant bear hoodie on. I think today she's using Just Hood lemon bar recipe. If you don't know it, then check it out. Bloody delicious. Reminded me of this from a few years ago. Girlfriend and I worked for the same company in different areas on different floors. This was pre-COVID. Girlfriend loves baking and sharing more than eating the stuff herself. Also, big news for those that have read my previous posts. Girlfriend has moved in. Man, I am ecstatic. Girlfriend would bring in her goods maybe 3 times a week. The head of her department, Matt, got a little tin and made a little sign. Something like, if you enjoyed a treat, please leave a contribution so girlfriend can keep baking. Then there was Karen. I go down to my girlfriend's floor one day to talk to someone and the vibe is off. Girlfriend looks kinda withdrawn. People are buzzing. Matt looks furious. The treats are on Matt's desk. Turns out someone emptied the contribution tin and left a note saying the last few baked goods weren't up to par, so they'd emptied the tin as a form of refund for past contributions. Oh my gosh. Girlfriend had a hard night. Thought about baking something gross as revenge, got upset thinking maybe her baking really is bad, considered stopping altogether. I told her to consider stopping giving them away for free. Next day, I'm called into a meeting. Most of upper management, client services, etc. We're talking about the baking and the note, and people were outraged. I'd love to say it was because girlfriend was universally adored, as she should be, but it was mostly the bullying and how the baked goods were free for our company, but great for our morale. Matt spoke to girlfriend and basically said if she wanted to keep baking, he'd love it. And a few colleagues had decorated an empty desk on the 3rd floor specifically for people to share their baked goods, under a camera. Near my team. Girlfriend is a professional, but man, she almost cracked when she saw the table. I'll have to try to find a picture. The tin was replaced with a tiny padlock. Next time Karen appeared for a treat, a woman from my team jumped up and stopped her, telling her that they weren't up to par, and basically told her to flip off. More people started baking, and Matt would share out the pound contributions. A picture of the table full of amazing goodies even made it to our website for a while. Karen ended up putting in a complaint about her entire floor. Apparently, every time she tried leading a training session, people started telling her that her teachings weren't up to par. She tried smoothing it over, not by apologizing, but by bringing in a tray of cheap donuts with a stupid sign saying that no contribution was needed. These were actually good and free. Those donuts had exactly 2 taken. One by Karen and the other returned with 1 bite missing and a note that said, "Not up to par." Matt even called their next team outing. Who's up to party? Apparently, Karen started complaining that she was trying to inspire girlfriend to do better, that buying her own treats was way more expensive and she needed the little treat to keep going some days. That now more people were baking, so really she'd inspired them. That she didn't know how to get past my team, who she couldn't insult and historically sucked up to. Karen tried demanding the snacks move back downstairs, but was told the note was deemed bullying and the downstairs canteen without cameras wasn't up to par. This went on until COVID hit. F Karen, and my girlfriend's baking is amazing. Edit. A few people in the comments have pointed out that I skipped over how everyone knew it was Karen. Karen was really open about having written the note. Once the baking was a bigger thing, she even started saying that her note inspired my girlfriend and everyone else to do better. Like she should be thanked for being a Karen. The hag never admitted to stealing the pounds, though, and I don't think anyone cared enough to go after her for it. In the comments, Ordinary Alchemy asked, "Who the frack does she think she is? Lordess Almighty Baking Witch can gnaw on her own factory-made corn syrup rings." I love how the whole team utterly rebuked her behind. The audacity. Who raised them? Their upbringing clearly wasn't up to par. Lapsteel Guitar said, "Good to see that management and the rest of the office had your girlfriend's back. Likely enlightened self-interest, but who cares?" And the person who returned the donut with a bite out of it? And the note? That is my kind of jerkhole. Fit Discount said, "F that Karen. I'm glad the office was on the side of your girlfriend." OP replied, I think they were mainly on the side of baked goods, but yeah, F that Karen. Well, that story was certainly up to par as far as I'm concerned. I have to ask though, am I the jerk for kinda loving this story? They were so offended that Karen bullied OP's girlfriend and then literally united and bullied this Karen for years, it sounds like. And I think it's pretty amazing. Does that make me a jerk? And that's it for today. Until next time, shine bright, Starlight. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.